They believed he was done. They murmured that he was too ostentatious for his own good, that he was unable to handle the attention he garnered, that his health was deteriorating, and that his coaching days were coming to an end. However, they lost sight of who they were interacting with. This coach isn't your typical one. Prime is this. And Deion Sanders did what only Deion can do when the world became silent and the rumors were loud. He got to his feet silently. One video was dropped. Deion at home in Texas, strolling next to the legendary rap artist Lil Wayne. No breakdown. No press conference, just life, love, and loyalty. Coach Prime offered us an explanation, even though he didn't have to. With presence, not with words. It's only a war scar on that limb. That smile is the smile of a man who is aware of his unique build. And Deion showed us all that perseverance cannot be eliminated, as the critics were honing their weapons in anticipation of announcing his demise. A man whose mission transcends suffering cannot be buried. His physique may be questioned, but his soul is unquestionable. Oh, it's personal what's going to happen in Boulder this season? The vultures swooped in after Deion Sanders vanished from view. Boulder just needed to make a few mistakes and remain silent for a short while before the media began to treat it like an obituary. Prime was where? What was the matter with him? Would he coach again in the future? He was back home in Texas, facing a serious, unidentified illness. According to USA Today and ESPN, there were rumors that it was blood clots, an old monster he had previously battled. Some people made worse claims. The man has shed 14 pounds. He was missing Colorado's summer camp, which is a crucial period for any program, particularly one that is currently being rebuilt. And the vultures were smiling as they circled. But take a deeper look. Would this same panic have been experienced by a white coach in a similar situation? The media gave Lincoln Riley room and sympathy when he skipped work for personal reasons. However, they didn't inquire about Deion Sanders' health out of concern when he suddenly became silent during the open season. They were anticipating a collapse, so they inquired. Because nobody gives a self-assured, unapologetic black man with a winning track record, a mouthful of scripture, and swagger the benefit of the doubt. They don't see Deion as a leader who manages sickness. He is a target and a walking headline. However, they were unaware of this. There was no refuge in the solitude. A reset took place. Coach Prime is getting ready for a memorable comeback. To be honest, Deion Sanders is battling more than simply his disease. He's up against something more profound, ancient, and repulsive. Racism masquerading as criticism. It has consistently existed. They whispered that as a player, he was too arrogant, too ostentatious, and disrespectful to the game. None of them exhibit any depth. However, when Brett Favre rejoiced like a child, they never said anything about him. Or when Nick Saban paid attention to reporters. It didn't retire with Deion's cleats, which is a double standard. It just entered a press box while wearing a suit. The scrutiny doubled as a coach. He referred to it as a PR stunt while he was at Jackson State. They said he left the culture behind when he moved to Colorado. The jump was not celebrated by them. They denounced the aspiration. Here's the reality, though. Deion remained in the culture. He carried it along. In a society that values his black teachers' silence, gratitude, and uniqueness, he introduced grills, self-assurance, rap music, and direct communication. That's the issue. America is at a loss as to how to respond to Prime's refusal to apologize for his magnificence. Allow me to preach. Examine the coverage. Every error is emphasized and every quotation is examined. Is he paying attention? Can he lead? However, the tone shifts when other coaches experience difficulties or become unwell. All of a sudden, it's care and empathy. Deion continues to walk despite the turmoil. Then the video appeared. Suddenly, Deion shares a video of himself and Lil Wayne strolling arm in arm around his Texas property. Just sunlight, swagger, and Unitino hospital beds. Number IVs. It was more than just a friend's visit. It was a declaration. Despite being a worldwide celebrity in his own right, Lil Wayne wasn't there for influence. He wasn't there for the brand. He was there for Deion. Additionally, in that video, Prime implied that I'm still here and I'm still him. He limped, but it didn't matter. He moved gracefully. Although he wasn't quite recovered, he appeared lighter and more liberated. He wasn't only battling for himself at that time. He was battling on behalf of all those who had been prematurely dismissed or judged. His tweet summed it up. God has me. The media sought proof of a collapse. They received a video of a warrior and a leader surrounded by faith, love, and a sense of purpose. There was no damage control in that video. It served as a warning. Prime was not pleading for notice. He was a guy of authority, without a doubt. This is more than just football. Deion Sanders is more than simply a trainer. He is a danger to the status quo, a disruption, and a guy who is boldly, loudly, and in technicolor, redefining what it means to be a leader. What did people think of Jackson State when he brought national cameras to HBCU football, attracted five-star players, and placed pride on the map? He is not going to last. After that, he moved to Colorado, took over a program with only one win, and made it the most talked about team in the country. All of a sudden, he has become the face of college football. And the response, outright hatred. He isn't a true coach. Terror is more important to him than X's and O's. But terror lies. Underneath that commotion, fear that they never permitted guys like him to achieve in the manner that he has. Fear that he's making it fashionable to have confidence in oneself once more. The world wants him gone because he doesn't fit their model, even if they have reservations about you. However, they are unaware that Deion Sanders is not a typical person. He shatters them. The genuine one remained nearby while the media made conjectures. Michael Irvin, his boys, his mother, and his faith. Of course, Deion may be gregarious on the field, but he is rooted in prayer and quiet when it comes to healing. He became lighter. He acknowledged that the physical toll was beyond anything he had ever experienced. But he refused to let the suffering define who he was. He relied on the Bible. He shared hopeful posts. He served as a reminder to the world and perhaps to himself that God was not finished with him. This was more than simply a medical adventure. It had a spiritual quality. It took place indoors. And something more powerful than medication was at work behind every post, statement, and video of him limping. The naysayers didn't get that dot. Someone who is moved by divine purpose cannot be outspoken. Someone who has already been selected cannot be canceled. The headlines would have said, "A community rallies behind their coach." Country musicians had visited a white coach during their recuperation. However, the tone shifts when Lil Wayne arrives at Deion's property. Is this an expert? Does he take coaching seriously? Football is no longer at the center of this. This relates to how Black leadership is framed by the media. Deion's refusal to swap codes for comfort makes others uneasy. He isn't lowering it to blend in, he is creating a new project. They roll their eyes when he mentions God. They laugh when he uploads inspirational videos. However, the hundreds of young men who have played under him have grown to believe in him, thanks to those same strategies. And what transforms a 1-11 squad into a movement is belief, not plans. Although they won't acknowledge it, the media is working to bring him down. They're fed up with a man who consistently rises above their expectations. He's not going away. So good luck. Let's be clear then. Colorado football wasn't the only thing Coach Prime promoted. He contributed spirit, identity, and importance. Colorado was an adrift program prior to Deion. No one was in the stands. There were no headlines. There was no heartbeat in the locker room. However, once Prime arrived, Boulder abruptly became the focus of college football culture. Furthermore, it was more than simply the victories. It has to do with faith. A coach who looked like them, talked like them, and understood them was a startling relief to players who had never seen themselves represented in leadership roles. Deion transformed the Colorado locker room into a sanctuary of high standards and self-worth. He did more than only find talent. He hired with a purpose. He gave them the impression that being loud, proud, black, and good didn't have to mean being inferior. And his presence is sensed even when one is not in the building. His message is repeated by the personnel. His mantras are repeated by the players. He shares more than simply updates every day from his property. They serve as reminders. I remain with you. Haven't given up, and you shouldn't either. Deion Sanders is essential to Colorado for more reasons than simply his ability to call plays or generate media attention. He has altered the norm, which is why they need him. He pushed a university and his supporters to rethink what leadership entails, changed the culture, and raised the standard. And the mood will change when he returns to that locker room, even if he is still limping. His presence is therapeutic, not because he is recovered. Football isn't the only topic here. This concerns the reappearance of a revolutionary, a leader, or a symbol that Coach Prime will not return to try to win games. He is returning to complete the cultural revolution he initiated, one that dares to defy convention. To be great, Deion Sanders didn't need anyone's approval. He really doesn't need that right now. He recuperated in silence, surrounded by fire, family, and religion, while the media conjectured and the detractors gossiped. They attempted to write his conclusion, but he was still holding the pen. In actuality, they have never felt at ease. With Deion, his freedom is the reason, not his loudness or boldness. Free to have faith in oneself. Feel free to include hip-hop during halftime. He is free to make his own decisions, wear shackles, and speak to God. And it is risky for a black guy in America, particularly one in a position of authority. They said that he abandoned the HBCUs, he wouldn't be able to live at a Power 5. They added, they claimed he was too ostentatious, too cocky, and too unconventional. However, there is a commonality throughout all of those sounds. Stems from fear. Because Deion stands for an uncontrollable future. A time in the future when conformity is replaced by authenticity. Where young black instructors are not forced to conform to whitewashed stereotypes. And now he stands higher than ever after everything, the illness, the uncertainty, the exile. Not because he is in perfect physical health, but because he has an unshakable spirit. The Lil Wayne video wasn't a gimmick. It served as a signal. The monarch is still living. The movement keeps going. Furthermore, the narrative is far from finished. So feel free. Continue to have doubts. Continue to whisper. Hopefully he will fade. But keep this in mind. You can't cancel what Deion Sanders is based on. Goal. This is Huddle Headquarters. I appreciate you watching. Similar to the video, sign up. I'll provide you with further football reports tomorrow.